You ever go to the art store and you looking for a reference doll and you find one and it's this little dinky thing? I have this for probably 12, 13 years, and I've never used it for reference. It's just been a display model. But I have 5 different types of action figures that you can buy in any store, Walmart, Target, and Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore, or Amazon. And these figures you can actually use for reference. And they're great, they're posable. I'm going to show some shots of them, but I'm going to go over which ones I prefer. So let's get right into it. Alright, figure number 1 that I really like to use for reference are the DC Universe figures. Now I think they're just called the DC, just the DC line, or the Todd McFarlane line, I think they're called. Same thing. What I like about these is that you can actually move them at the joints and the rib cage. So if you have trouble drawing torsos or the whole human body, these are great for that. And what's cool about these is that they're super detailed. So like this Batman, you can see the Sinestro ring on him. Super cool. What I also like too is some of them come with stands. So if you do find an issue putting your figures up on a stand, you can actually make a makeshift one from the Dollar Tree if you need to, with those little picture stands. But you know, you can do, you know, force perspective. So I don't know if you're gonna focus here. Oh, there we go. Force perspective, so you can kind of get really close. Obviously you're not going to be aiming at a camera unless you do want to take pictures. I always recommend taking a ton of reference photos. I think my iPad's like close to 10,000 photos of just references, so it's always never bad to have reference photos, especially if you work digitally. But yeah, number 1 or number 5 if you're going that way. It's not really a tier list. These are just the 5 figures that I really enjoy using. Alright, the second figures I really enjoy using are wrestling figures. In the video you saw the Finn Balor borrowed from my brother, and Seth Rollins. I don't really have loose figures because I like to collect the wrestlers in box, but I think I have an old zombie Stone Cold back there. But this is a Malachi Black or Aleister Black. And what's nice about these is that they come with accessories. So, for example, Malachi's jacket comes off, his knee pads and elbow pads come off, and they're highly detailed. So there's a ton. I don't know if probably too much light from the camera, but there is a ton of tattoos on them, little details, and they use face scans. So if you're worried about using photos because of copyright, you could use a figure and you're technically safe. I'm not a lawyer, so I know that there's some gray lines there, but if you're worried about that, using a figure is really the way to go. Alright, so on to number 3. Number 3, one of my favorite all-time animes is Gundam. And I really enjoy drawing mechs. I like drawing robots. My comic Midnight Eye, the villains, the angels, are actually guys in mech suits. So I enjoy drawing mech suits and I get a lot of inspiration. These are the Bandai snap-togethers, but in the video that you're going to see, those are the SH figure arts. Now, prices vary. Like, this is a starter one. This one was about $20, but you can get the SH figure arts if you don't want to put it together. This one you have to actually put it together, but I find it really cathartic and relaxing to build model kits of Gundams, and his leg fell off. But I really enjoy these because they're super articulated, and again, with accessories, and parts actually move. So like this leg here actually shows the rocket on the bottom. As you can see, the leg comes off, but it's not broken. Comes with the blasters, and you could manipulate the wings. This one is Gundam Zero XX, I think. There's so many Gundam Zeros, but yeah, these are super great and cost effective. This little dummy cost me $13 back in the day. So why not spend $7 more and you get a model kit out of it? So definitely recommend, and tons of fun putting it together. It helps with the creativity. All right, on to number 4. All right, number 4 is kind of a cop-out because it's not an action figure; they're actually statues. And I have 2 of my favorite statues. This is my Connor. He is my favorite assassin from Assassin's Creed because he is Native American and super badass. I love Part 3. I know it's kind of like a contentious game, but what's cool about these statues, even though they're not really posable, they come with a display, so you don't have to worry about it moving around. But it comes with removable weapons. So you have the flintlock pistols here that come right off, and then the bow and arrow, and his arrow quiver, and some pouches in the back, and they're highly detailed. This is another McFarlane. You can see how detailed they are. I really enjoy the staining on the clothes. That's something that's really hard to mimic digitally. So when you draw digitally, it's nice to have something to reference that you can be like, oh, okay, so the way the light's hitting it, I can kind of, tweak that a little bit. Some toys, they're really flat, like the Batman from earlier. This Batman, there's no real texture to his costume, whereas statues, they're hand painted. And so they have a lot of texture and things that you can actually bring out in your paintings. So I highly recommend using statues. This is the second statue that I wanted to show, which is kind of a cheat because hint, hint, number 5. But I like this statue because I messed around with it and put a Money in the Bank briefcase on him, and the old Ultimate Warrior Winged Eagle World Championship, just because I thought the strap looked pretty cool on Vegeta Super Saiyan Blue. But these statues are a little bit of the opposite, so these don't have a lot of texture, but they have so much detail. It feels like you're just ripping him right out of the anime. Super, super detailed, and the paint job on these are amazing. I have a Bulma up there, a Kid Goku, Piccolo, so whenever I need inspiration, not really reference, but sometimes just looking up and just thinking of something quirky, looking at Vegeta with a world title is kind of cool. So that is number 4, statues. So price ranges, the low end, you could probably get a statue for like $20 at a hobby shop or GameStop, but you could go really high up. Some of these really detailed statues can go for like $300-400. I don't recommend doing that. If you're just looking for something to draw, the McFarlane lines are usually $20-30, and you can get a lot of usage out of them, and then when you're done with them, you can put them on display. Whereas this guy looks dumb on display. All right, on to number 5. I kind of teased it already, but here we go. So the Namco or Bandai, I forget which brand actually makes these, but the Dragon Ball figures, one of the caveats with these is that the sculpts are not the greatest. Let's see if you can, there we go. Yeah, the sculpts are not that great, but what it lacks in detail and good detail, they make up in articulation. So unlike the WWE toys, these actually articulate double jointed, so they kind of pop and lock, which is super cool. I really enjoy using these. I have all the Vegetas, obviously. Vegeta's my favorite, but I also got some other figures. I used to have some of the older ones from the 90s, but those aren't posable, and the ones that are posable, they're from the 90s now, so they kind of wobble. Whereas these, they're still super stiff and really cool. I didn't show it on the turntable, and that's another big caveat. On the turntable, they do fall over. They're a little bit top heavy, so you can see the wiggle in the leg. So I didn't want to use those on the turntable because they would fall like that. But there we go. Those are my 5 picks for action figures, i.e. statues, that you could use instead of a wood reference doll, especially if you're into drawing comics, anime, and just fan art. It's a lot better to use that than some of these reference dolls. If you do have the money, There are some figures, I will link it or show a picture somewhere up above me here, of the SH Figure Arts playing dolls that actually come with stands and weapons and stuff like that, but those are usually going to be in the $40–50 range, where you can get a action figure and then you can play when you're bored. I feel like I have a little bit of an attention issue sometimes, so it's nice to, like, you know, hold something in my hands and just play with it, you know, if I'm stressed out or if I'm in between projects. So they have a lot of uses than just references. Obviously, if you like playing with toys, that's another out. So hopefully this video was entertaining and kind of a break from my normal art tutorial videos. But if you enjoyed it and want to see more like this, let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for watching. And as always, don't forget to keep it over 9,000.